Hi, everybody. This is Bob Ost, and welcome to our Friday TRU Community Gathering. This is, I think, our 29th consecutive week. Ever since we were put into shutdown in March, and ever since I went from figuring out what to do and deciding that maybe doing weekly community gatherings and an opportunity for people to come together might be a good idea. We've been doing these consistently week after week. April 17th was the first one. And I try to put together interesting weekly guests or panels of guests who have things that are interesting to say about being creative during COVID. I think the overall theme of what we're doing every week is basically how to stay creative and how to stay sane during this lockdown. So most of you, I believe, are sane, although I know that we're all kind of stretched thin right now. Brendan, I keep calling him Brett. It's Brendan. Brendan keeps nodding his head. I don't think he's feeling particularly sane right now. We'll talk to him in a moment. I just want to thank you all for being here, and I want to make sure that you know that we have a panel scheduled for the next 5 or 6 weeks, and beyond that, if you have any ideas of things that you want us to talk about, just let me know and I will try to put it together. So without any further ado, I'm going to actually invite Brendan to come in. Hello, Brendan.
Hello, greetings. How you doing? I'm Brendan Bradley. I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, and scrappy storyteller who spent the last 20 years working in pretty much every medium and format in entertainment. Over 100 IMDb credits, over 100 theatrical productions, over 50 commercials, 50 million views on YouTube. And over the quarantine, I hard pivoted to basically start looking for every ubiquitous technology or tool, basically a free tool that producers and storytellers could use to start standing up their work. That wasn't Zoom. I'm going to throw something in the chat real fast. That's got a link to my website, brendanaBradley.com/future stages, which I imagine we're going to unpack today. And then also a link to what I've been doing for the last 6 months is a live one-man show in which I demonstrate and live real-time show off these technologies, 5 different technologies, using Shakespeare monologues. However, today, I'm excited to sit down and sit back and just have a conversation about it with Bob. So I look forward to a less formal and less present-y thing. I'm excited to be here, so thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brendan. It's good to have you. I'm glad you're here.
Vintage port, very nice, Jenny.
Oh, you might want to explain what that is. There's a chat going.
I asked for your preferred beverage in the chat if folks want to share it.
Okay. What's my preferred beverage? Iced coffee, I think.
Lovely.
So you used a word that actually, a phrase that I actually am going to adopt, hard pivot. You made a hard pivot. A lot of people are reluctant to accept the reality of what's going on right now. And a lot of people are still fighting. They're kind of saying, oh, I'm going to wait until we have live theater back. I don't want to deal with Zoom. I don't want to deal with virtual presentation. And I tell them that this is what we have and this is what we are. And I think it's a little easier in general on sanity and soul to say, this is what we have available to us. So Brendan, tell us, my hard pivot, as I said earlier, was basically going from, I think I have to close TRU to, oh, I think I have to take TRU virtual. Terrified of it. But I did it, and now we're doing not only our community gatherings, but also we're doing programs that have been live programs. We're rethinking them for virtual presentation. So tell us, Brendan, what were the steps? What did you know and what didn't you know when the pandemic hit and when you realized that virtual was going to be the new world for us?
I mean, obviously, hindsight 2020, which has no meaning in the year 2020. But I think that my approach to this is far more primal. So in February, my brother was hospitalized with a weird virus that no one had ever seen. I was by his bedside, almost lost him. Thankfully, he survived. few weeks later, I myself became incredibly ill. And I think that as an artist, this idea of like, well, just wait till 2021. In March of this year, I didn't know if there was going to be a 2021. So I think that we got to take advantage of what we've got when we got it. And I think that empowering artists in this moment to say, look, we're here. And right now, we don't know that next project is coming. We heard from, we've got a lovely 60 participants in this chat right now who all are talking about incredible. I mean, I could have listened to these pitches. I know that everybody had to condense and trim it down, but I could have listened to these pitches for the next hour. And those are stories I want to see. But frankly, no one's going to make them. And I was part of the original digital revolution in 2007. I started working with a lot of kids that were making content for this weird new website called YouTube. And through the adoption of that, I basically said YouTube is a black box theater with a camera. And that was a moment to empower and democratize all storytellers to, you can wait around for someone to give you 50 mil to make your project. And if they will, more power to you. But no one's ever given me 50 mil. So if you can just take a DSLR camera and start making your work today, why don't do it? And so mine has all been the do the thing, make the thing.
So when did your virtual theater, when was it born?
So I was approached, so I founded the Integrative Technology Lab at New York University, which combines emerging technology and live performance. It's student-driven, it's cross-collaborative or cross-departmental. That's one of the conditions of me founding the initiative. And we work with 3 technologists every semester who are working with groundbreaking technology. And it so happened that the students this past spring had just been handed the brand new Oculus Quest and given some proprietary Facebook software by one of their instructors when quarantine hit. And so the students began meeting, rehearsing, and performing in virtual reality with their professor. And through that, we got a little bit of buzz, and I started getting calls from all these off-Broadway companies who were saying, oh, well, we're thinking about a virtual thing. Can we work with you? And I was all in on it. I as we said, hard pivot. I was like, yes, I see this as kind of that identical YouTube moment in 2007, that there's an elegant way to do this. Let's go. And every single one of those initiatives stopped the moment that they saw the price tag. The moment that they said, oh, wait, we've got to buy headsets. Oh, wait, we've got to do this. Oh, wait, we got to blah, 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 blah. And so what I did was I then hard pivoted again to basically say, okay, no one's going to use this stuff unless they can use a version of it out of the box for free to kind of get their palate wet. And so I began literally investigating every single open source tool on the internet to integrate into live performance. So I have a YouTube channel that I began giving free tutorials that are for open source or free trial softwares. And as that went over time, I started with just how do you perform? Then I was, how do you make cues? How do you get a scene partner in here? Blah, 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 blah. And what that resulted in was me looking into 3D, because obviously we can do the 2D pancake experience all day, but I started looking into social VR or social virtual reality, which there's a program called Hubs from Mozilla, which is the same company that does Firefox. And this basically allows anybody using the same URL on almost any device to enter the same environment or experience or room. You might be familiar with VR Chat or Second Life, where you're represented as a virtual avatar and you can go in there and hang out. Well, Hubs, you don't need a VR headset for. So if you're on your smartphone, you can also enter the experience. And they have a companion project called Spoke that allows you to design and be the architect of your own 3D world. So I decided I wanted to make a virtual theater that anybody could use for free to start hosting live performances using the same URL on any device. And this led to the Future Stages. And this is on my website, brendonabradley.com/future stages. It's completely free to grab as a template. You throw in your own show art and live stream link. And when you enter the room, you can click to drag to look around with your mouse. You can walk around with your arrow keys, just like a video game. We can walk, hello, there's somebody in here. Walk into the lobby and then walk into the theater itself. I can hold down the space bar and have a variety of interactions like these emojis down here, or these little people icons that are in the seats that when I click on one, I actually go and sit in my designated seat. And then that back wall I've turned into basically just a screen. So you can project anything in the world on that screen. You can also share your own video camera and microphone. Give it a second as it spins up. So you'll see that I'm now sharing my video camera inside of the theater. So what we've since begun doing is I have done several presentations inside of this experience, as well as I have stood up a one-act play. You said 3 men in a boat earlier. I have a play called Jettison, which is about 3 men in a boat. And I stood up this play both as actors as video inside of the theater and actors as avatars performing inside of the theater. So that we had both, we hosted audiences and had them then talk back afterwards about what they liked, what they didn't like, what worked, what didn't work. And we've been kind of evolving our tools for the pancake experience if you just want to kind of beef up your 2D performance, or to go the 3D route and actually perform in a 3D space where audiences can join.
I'm not a tech guy, so I'm going to have to ask you, what is the purpose of the avatars in the room? How do you interact with the avatars, and is that part of the? Okay, you've got a room full of people that are a lot of us are writers and a lot of us are producers, and we have a show, and we want to put the show up, and we want to put it up in an environment that's going to really engage people and really wow them and make them love the experience of seeing this virtual production. Where do the avatars come in?
So the avatars come in twofold. Anyone in the experience is represented as an avatar, like your body. You have to be represented in virtual space through some sort of physical object. And so Mozilla chooses to give you an avatar that you can pick and choose. So when you log into the experience, you get to pick your avatar. The performers could be avatars, or they could perform as their 2D videos. We've done it both ways. I'm working with the Actors Theater of Louisville right now to onboard their professional training company to perform as video composited inside of a 3D space so that people can attend as an avatar and sit in seats and watch the show and interact. Mozilla also uses what's called spatial audio, so that the closer you are to something, the louder it is, the further away you are from something, the softer it is. So you're able to have those sidebar conversation if you wanted to kind of slip over into the lobby or take a quick little jaunt outside to talk with somebody about the show afterwards.
I'm not technically sophisticated, so tell me again, if we want to bring a show into your virtual space, first of all, what are the steps how do we sign on? How many performances can we do? I mean, are we limited in terms of when we can use your space? Can more than one person use your virtual space at the same time? Is there a schedule? How does it work?
So think of the future stages like a website template for a 3D world. So the same way that you can use your web, I make a website template that has a graphic here and it's white background and it's got the navigation up here, and you decide, Bob, I want to use that website template and put in my own information and use it on my website. You're just taking the template and making your own iteration. So I've made a template of a theater that's ready to go. It has areas that you can replace a live stream link, show graphics, general playbill information. So you can basically plug and play your information for your show, make your own custom link, and you're basically hit publish, and you're ready to host your event.
So let's clarify one thing.
Okay.
These are not live presentations, are they?
These are live.
They are live.
Everything that I'm doing is live.
It is all live. So
yes, sir.
Is it recorded and it can be live? Can it be live streamed later, or these are one-time only pieces?
It could be both.
Okay. I think that's important to a lot of people. You're probably aware of the equity SAG wars that are going on right now, and
I've produced under both contracts.
Oh well,
during the past 6 months.
Can you tell us going away from your virtual world for a second? Can you tell us how you made the decision to use the equity contract versus the SAG, and tell us in a way so that we know what to do too, because we're all trying to figure out what to do.
Sure. I can tell you, I've been a SAG member and an equity member equally, as well as producing under those contracts for over 10 years. There are different hammers for different nails. I think right now what's happening, unfortunately, and this is just a part of our current culture and our current media ecosystem, there's a lot of disinformation going on out there, and that's really unfortunate. I've been on calls with both the leadership of equity and of SAG. What I can tell you is that if you are used to producing under an equity contract, there's absolutely no reason you should be jumping over to a SAG contract. Frankly, I find that to be an inappropriate move. Similarly, I'll say if you're used to being a SAG producer, there really is very little reason to be jumping over to an equity contract unless you are specifically creating events that speak to those very well-defined jurisdictions. The fact is that neither union has consistently enforced the internet, and now both are trying to claim it. And I'm not in leadership. I don't make decisions. All I can do is react as both a producer and a performer to those conditions. But I can tell you the new media contract for SAG has a lot of problems and a lot of teeth. So if you just think that that's a catch-all to get yourself out of a bad situation right now, I can tell you it might come back and bite you in the ass. It has to many people I know. You've got to know that you are producing new media content designated for a very specific first window, because that's how film television content is distributed, is through windowing. So you are defining, I'm going to put it on YouTube, or I'm going to put it over here, or I'm going to sell it to Netflix. And then when it moves, those are new conversations. Those come with different conditions. Those may or may not trigger residuals. Those may or may not trigger upgrading your contract. So thinking that you just get to throw something on the internet is a perpetuated myth that I think has been very destructive to both unions for the last decade. And so as a producer, I'll just unapologetically say that it's unfortunate that that has been the messaging and the perpetuated myth. But when you start signing your name to these documents, I can tell you there's some handcuffs on both sides of the agreement. So if you're going to produce a live event that is going to be live streamed, I think equity has done a really good job of kind of picking it up and figuring out how to move forward in a way that allows you to basically perform live and then have some sort of echo or kind of video on demand for some set period of time. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that members get their weeks and get fairly compensated. But on the SAG end, that new media agreement doesn't just mean you get to throw that shit on the internet. And I apologize for being crass, but okay. I know a lot of folks that want to act all ho-hum surprised later that they didn't read the fine print of the SAG new media contract. So buyer beware.
You talked about being able to run things after you've done your equity performance, but I think there's a lot of limitations on that in terms of equity.
There's a lot of limitations for SAG.
Well, equity basically has told me and told other people that if we want to do something and we can do it as a benefit for 501c3, we can use the theater authority, which is very clear cut. Basically, you can do, I think, up to 3 performances, and then you can actually run up to 4 days live streaming it. I'm streaming it, not live streaming it. After that, I mean, it's in the agreement, so we know we can do that.
Bob, I don't know if you're, and again, I don't want to overstep because again, we'll start moving beyond the scope of my expertise. But to my information, as of 2 or 3 days ago, Equity did release conditions regarding their media engagement letter through June of next year that basically says if you are already working under one of their contracts, so if you do the guest artist agreement, let's say, you can buy into the ability to play those videos for between 4 and 8 weeks after you've performed.
Okay, that's new to me, so that's good to know. So let's move away from the okay. union wars.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. No, you know a lot of stuff that I didn't know, so it's really useful. Thank you very much. I want to go back to the experience, the theater experience that you create with your virtual theater. Is it an app? What teach me how to talk this? Is it an app? What is it? It's a platform?
It is an open source platform or technology.
Okay, it's an open source platform.
Right now what is happening and what is very important for people to distinguish as we enter this space, we are guests in someone else's home. There is a pre-existing community called the Extended Reality or Open Web community. And they have been developing basically open source tools and an open source culture for many, many, many years that is a community of generosity, of abundance, of sharing, and is really getting to the heart of the tools to present and the tools to create are free, and what you own is your intellectual property. And that's what you can go off and make money on. And so instead of dictating the culture of storytelling onto this community, I'm specifically trying to embrace their open platform community of saying, look, here's all these tools. It's like Shakespeare, it's open source. And now it becomes about what you do with the work and with the production. Someone in the chat is saying, what do the avatars look like? I think that's a fantastic question. And I understand that there are some confusions to what we're talking about here. So I think while I kind of boringly drone about the designations in the kind of basic stuff in the XR community, I'm going to pull up the future stages again, and I'm going to go into it in a VR headset so that you can see me, because I can't see myself in the space, kind of like I can't see my own body right now. So in XR, extended reality, you're going to have three basically, it's an umbrella for three basic types of technology: AR, VR, and MR. There's AR, which is augmented reality. And this is social media filters. You're basically putting a virtual overlay on top of the real world. They don't interact. They just kind of go on top of each other like scrapbooking. Virtual reality is an entirely immersive ecosystem that is made up entirely of virtual or digitally captured elements. So that's typically what you see those big headsets for, or if you've ever been to a conference, sometimes they can put up a tent around you for this. But this is basically a 3D immersive world, all virtual, all digital. And that's starting to lean towards what the future stages is. However, it can be accessed on a 2D screen like your computer browser. Anybody right now while we're talking, I could throw this link into the chat. We might overwhelm it, but you could join me inside this theater. And then MR is mixed reality, which is when the virtual assets can actually respond or react to the real world. And this is like Pokemon Go, or we're starting to get into the kind of confusing place with Snapchat where like there's now filters that actually like affect things and change things. So any weird questions or ideas off of what I just spouted while I log into here?
Well, Eric Rothman had a whole series of questions.
Right.
He wanted to know, how reliable is the sound? Can you live stream 3D or VR into the space? Can you use volumetric video? What is the, I mean, he's got a whole lineup of questions here.
Love it. Let's lightning round it. Here we go. How reliable is the sound? Sound in any digital or virtual medium is an annoying factor. No one's really cracked this nut perfectly yet because we're basically dealing with the independent Wi-Fis of actors. I've gotten around this a little bit by looking into kind of IP cameras or deer hunting cameras that you're basically relying on a cellular signal instead of your Wi-Fi. You can also do things routing through the phone. Radio solves this problem with Comrex boxes, which run about $1,700 a pop. And you throw those out and it basically creates a hard line into somebody's home for audio purposes. So those are some hacks around, but the sound isn't bad. And the fact that they use spatialized audio makes it a little better. So, you know, in Zoom, people kind of like start jumping and jumbling on top of each other and interrupting each other. Whereas here, we could actually move over to the side and everybody else will be softer behind us and we can have a real conversation. You can live stream 2D into the space using your web camera or using any link. So a YouTube video, a Twitch video, a third party. You can start streaming 3D or VR into the space or volumetric using a variety of toolkits or plugins. There's a dancer, I'm blanking on her name right now, but 2 weeks ago, she released an open source thing with Microsoft that actually allows you to stream volumetric video specifically into Mozilla Hubs. The capacity for simultaneous participants is a range. So out of the box, what we're looking at inside of Hubs is a free version of it. Basically, I built the theater on a free version of Hubs. So anybody could do that right now. You could go make a room while we're sitting here on this talk. It takes about 5 minutes to set it all up. I have a video on my YouTube explaining how to do that in real time. I sit there for 30 minutes going through each and every little annoying part of it that if you just followed along with me, you'd be good to go. But if you buy your way in. You can basically buy server space to upgrade the server, and you could have more participants. So a standard free out-of-the-box hubs room will allow somewhere between 20 and 30 participants before the experience starts to crunch and lag. And there have been, Burning Man had 70 people per room. And then what they did was make multiple iterations of the same room so that they could host thousands of people across the experience, even though it was basically 70 people at a time. People have been developing some new cool stuff to be able to host on their own servers. I think the record so far is about 3,000 people. There's a guy in Berlin that's doing DJ parties inside of hubs, which has been fun. So I'm going to walk over to y'all over here. Hope you can see me. Yes, hello. So I'm this avatar. These are my hands moving around. And this is just a generic avatar that I've chosen.
All we see is you.
We see me acting like a goof.
We see you in a mask.
Let's do hubs. And where'd my browser go? See, Bob, I told you you were going to want me to show this stuff.
Well, I knew you. I didn't disagree. I didn't disagree.
So let's see here. How do I reset this so I can show everybody in real time what we're doing here? So I'm Charlie. That was the name of my character here. I'm waiting for this to populate back up. It's going to take me a second to get logged in. If there's any other questions I can field while I'm looking like a goof and logging in.
I do have some questions, but let me see if the room has any questions.
There's some people in the room with me. Hello. Someone's reading my playbill over there. So now do you see me? Or am I blocking myself?
Oh, there. I see something moving.
Here, I'll move into the lobby.
Oh, there we
go.
See
somebody in the lobby right now?
I see a dot. I don't want to talk. Every time I talk, I take over the screen. I don't want to take over the screen. I want you to be on the screen. So let me just say that so far, well, you talk for a second.
Okay. Right now, there is an avatar standing here in front of you, and I'm behind him, running my hands around. He's reading a program that you may or may not be able to see, and you are in the lobby of the theater, just seeing what two avatars standing next to each other look like. And I'm hoping that is, yeah, I see it on my screen, so I hope you see it on yours.
I do. Yeah.
Again, what I will say is that I have designed an entire live presentation and performance where I go through each of these technologies, show them in real time, and actually perform monologues with them. That was in my original chat. So if there's any confusion at the end of this, honestly, I highly recommend that stood up performance is really helpful in kind of connecting some of these dots for how they apply to live performance. But does that answer the question of what the avatars look like?
So I'm seeing only a torso and a head. There's no legs. Is that right?
There are no legs.
Okay.
Not in Mozilla.
Okay. So we saw the avatar. So the question I have as a producer or as a writer is, how do I use the avatars to enhance the experience of somebody actually watching my play?
How do you use performers' bodies to enhance your play?
So are you saying, I know this is, I'm probably being dense. I'm probably being dense. So basically, are you saying that the avatars can be part of the performance? So it's, what I was thinking was, this is a pre-show experience where somebody comes into your lobby and they go, instead of coming into a Zoom room and there's a sign that says, we'll be with you in a second, they come into an actual lobby and they move around into the space, hopefully directed to the stage so that they eventually get to see the play. but you're saying that and I figured the avatars were somehow involved in that lobby experience, that pre-show experience. But you're saying that they are actually part of the show. So if
let me oversimplify.
Okay, please help.
Anybody that enters a virtual reality experience of any kind, not just this one, literally any experience. If you are going to be in virtual reality, you are going to be physically represented by something. Your eyes have to be something. And sometimes that could just be a camera. You could just literally be a floating camera moving through an experience. But mostly in virtual reality, you are represented by some sort of 3D physical object, which is known as an avatar. So everybody who enters the space is an avatar of some kind. You can customize that avatar. You can build your own avatars. You can do a lot with that. You could decide you just want to be a red cube that floats through the world. And that, if you wanted to build it, you can do that.
And you're saying even the actors are? Sorry for interrupting.
No, of course. It's a great
question. Even the actors are, okay.
Literally anyone who enters any virtual reality experience is represented as an avatar. Now, you can choose to perform as those avatars. That's an option. We've done that. We have also then put a 2D video or a volumetric video inside of the 3D world. The actors have parked their avatars backstage, and then they've just performed as a streamed video, either 2D or 3D, into the experience.
So that's back to the frames, the talking heads and frames, or talking. No. So what does
it could it could be talking heads and frames, but we've been doing it so that the actors actually perform full body.
Okay. It sounds amazing, but I'm still at the point of, how do I do this? How do I do this?
Let's talk about it, because I wanted to stand it up and show you, but I think we're having more of a conversation, which is more abstract. So, I think we're just going to talk it out abstractly and find it together.
Are there any parameters that you would recommend in terms of the sort of piece that you would bring into a virtual performance space, like the one that you're describing, your future stages? Somebody asked, can you do musicals? How do you do musicals? We can't do musicals. None of us know how to do musicals live. We know how to do musicals recorded. So what happens when you have 2 or 3 people singing in a presentation?
It requires some juggling, and there is no perfect solution. Again, what I like to embrace in all of this is there's no perfect solution. Like, I personally think theater on Zoom is garbage. That's my own opinion. People don't like it. But I don't think that this is theater. And so I think if we're going to embrace Zoom, we can embrace anything. Like, then the sky's the limit. Like, let's just play, because there's no perfect solution, which means there's no wrong answers. So when it comes to doing something like musicals, there is no perfect solution yet, but the streaming community has gifted us a variety of patches and plugins to be able to co-host each other and basically to shit talk each other while they're playing video games. And they do this using Discord. And if you do a Discord voice channel and then use that as your audio source into a 3D environment or a Zoom presentation, you could technically have other people in pseudo sync. Again, the latency is going to be based off of the signal in their own home. But you can start moving in that direction. And that's where, again, I'll start referring you to broadcast radio solved these problems years ago. And there are devices for some money that you can buy to put in your house and solve all the latency issues today.
Let me ask you, I'm going to ask you another question, but first I want to ask you, do you have anything that you can bring up on a screen share to show people like a 5-minute performance or a snippet from a 5-minute performance so they see what it really looks like?
To see what it looks like?
Performing
in which way?
Okay, so let's divide it. Let's separate the Siamese twins. On one side, we've got the producing the show. On the other side, we have the audience experience.
Yes.
So we have to. I think we have to make sure that we know which one we're talking about. I think everybody wants to see the audience experience. What do they see?
Okay. So what based off of our conversation, again, and that's where I'll refer people to the YouTube video. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, but literally over there, I have the space in my house to literally perform live for you and demo this live. And I can't do that when we're having just a sit-down conversation.
So
But-
you have no existing recording of anything. Okay.
I have some recordings of it. I've got the YouTube recording that I've referred people to, and what I can do is kind of
Why don't you
scrub
screen
through-
share that?
Let me scrub through and find a clip quickly of me, literally just 5 seconds. So this is what I was showing you earlier. I go into the theater. Space bar, you see a variety of interactions, like the emojis at the bottom, and then these little waypoints that allow you to actually sit in a chair. Now, even though this works pretty great on desktop, it really opens up when you're in a virtual reality headset. Hello. I'm flying around. So the first thing you'll notice, and get in front of you, is that I have hands. I can go anywhere. I can be anything. I can summon any object. And my collaborators can manipulate and change the world around me based on discoveries I make in real time. We don't have to be alone in tiny boxes. That's a clip of me doing the presentation in Moscow, and just showing a basic idea of you are seated in a chair. If you were yourself seated in that chair in the 3D world, you could then move your mouse to look around. You could get up and walk around. You could choose where and how you interact with the show or watch the show. So that kind of enhances the audience experience. And again, to your point, there is the gathering element, the communal element of people attending the show, pre-show and post-show. So I have a stage door in the theater that people can go meet actors afterwards. And then I've got a lobby experience so people can meet other people before the show and chat.
Okay. Well,
I broke it. I broke your brain.
yeah, you did. My brain is
I break
broken.
my brain as well every day.
Questions from the room. I mean, Mary, do you want to?
Yes.
Mary Davis.
Yes, please. I would. I know, Brendan, you said earlier, twice I heard that if you could show us visually what you're talking about, but you've been talking too much. Could you possibly do that visually? Because I think everything. Why no?
He already said he can't do that.
Well, sorry,
not-
Mary, can you articulate? Because I just showed me as an avatar performing.
Mhm.
So if that wasn't clear, help me understand what asset I could maybe fish for on my computer.
Okay, I guess I understood you saying that if you could get up and go and do something, you would do that rather than the conversation. And I heard you say that 2 different times. So I was thinking that that's what you wanted to do. And that would also help people visually see exactly what you were talking about. Moving over and doing it now, not just showing a pre-clip thing before.
Oh, that's an hour to go arrange that side of my house.
Okay.
To be able to do it.
Okay. You didn't say that. I missed. Okay.
No worries.
So let's try to take it. Let's try to take it a step at a time. Okay, Jeffrey Siegel. What's your question? Jeffrey, you raised your hand.
There we go. Okay, now can you hear me now?
No, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, watching what you just showed, you as the avatar, and the avatar represented a potential audience member who could sit in one of those chairs, or I guess get up on the stage as an avatar. Okay, I understand that. What I want to see is, if I want to see you, not that avatar, as an actor standing on that virtual stage you built, or if I want to project or place a background against the back wall of that virtual theater that you built, or if I want to put a virtual scenic element on that stage so I can physically create a show with the things that look like what I created, not those funky avatars, how do I do it?
Copy. Love it. What I'm going to do is literally fish something out of a hard drive and throw it live. It's going to be crude and crappy, but that's the way the best things happen. So I'm going to cut to a video. I'll go black for a second and drag this in here. Come on. You can do it. All right, let's replace it.
So we're seeing 3 people on a screen.
Seeing 3 people on a screen inside of a 3D object boat. And this was an early experiment that we did of being able to live stream actors from 3 different cities. So we have 1 actor from San Francisco, 1 actor from Los Angeles, and 1 actor from New York, all in real-time sync, live performing with each other inside the same theater from their phones.
Now that's pretty amazing. That I can relate to. That I understand.
And could that be the virtual proscenium that you showed us when you showed us the whole theater space? Instead of being in the middle of what looks like just an open room there, could the seaside, the ocean be the virtual back wall of the upstage wall of the theater, and those actors be seen as if on the proscenium?
Correct, sir. So this was a black box iteration of the space that I created specifically for HereFest, which is hosted by No Proscenium, and they like more immersive in the round experiences, which is why we turned the floor of the theater into an ocean, put a boat in the middle, and put the actors inside that. Any video is 2-sided, so that allowed us to do alley seating, so people could watch from both sides. And then, but to your point, my original template that is for free on my website has the back wall is just a video. It can be any video in the world. So if you download that right now, put in your own YouTube or Twitch or whatever the hell link, literally just replace my link with yours. And I've got instructions for how to do that. You are live streaming immediately to the back wall of that theater.
Great. I have one other quick question, if I may. Is there any way, you mentioned that VR headsets being a barrier to the point of entry for a lot of people, but for people who might happen to own VR headsets, is there a way to then put on your VR headset and do what you do in a video game, which is enter the room as if you were there and look around and be there virtually?
Yes, that's what I was showing you in the previous video where I moved the sword around and spun around in the room in real time. So if you're in a headset,
I was looking at you as an avatar. What were you seeing? Were you seeing yourself as an avatar?
No, I see as if I am the avatar. I'm walking through the world. I can look down and see my body, but not my face. You know, it's as if it is as if this is my head. So whatever
we saw
whatever
you,
this
but
sees,
you did not see what we saw. Because
you
we
saw me, you
walk
did not
around
see
as
what
an
I was
avatar.
seeing.
Yeah, because he actually didn't know that we weren't seeing what he thought we were seeing. So he wasn't
All
seeing
right, thank you
it.
very much.
But
Again,
yes, if you have a VR headset, it's like it's your point of view. So it is as if you are there.
So I want to go back to sort of splitting the Siamese twins. So
Okay.
So basically, what is required for us to produce a reading of a new play, 5-character play, in your platform? What do the actors need? Do the actors need special equipment at home, or do you take care of that through your production software?
Again, this isn't mine. This is all open source from Mozilla. I just built a elegant template for free because Mozilla has like a beach or a conference room.
So we have a tech person who might or might not be you, but we have a tech person. We've engaged your version of this Mozilla software. Do we pay you for it? I would hope.
I've given this away completely free. This is for the community to start making art right now. If you can do Zoom Theater, you can do this. It is the exact same requirement. So
we've gotten permission from you to use this version of Mozilla. We take over. You're at home. You're reading a book. You don't know what's going on with us.
Yep.
But we've taken over your platform, and we want to create theater. So we have actors. What do the actors do? The actors also have to be they have to be within this platform, correct? They don't need a VR headset. They just need to be themselves. They don't need anything else. They need a green screen. Do they need a green screen?
Are your actors able to log onto a website?
Well, I would assume so, yes.
Okay, no, I'm asking. So are they able to share their camera, a camera?
I don't know how to share a camera, so you'd have to tell me.
Well, you're sharing a camera right now. in Zoom.
Okay.
So can we assume that the actors know how to do that?
I guess we can assume that.
I'm sorry. I'm not
Share a
arguing with that
camera.
answer. I'm genuinely asking.
Share a
Like,
camera sounds like
those are
something
the
that's
systems.
Share a camera sounds like it's something that's somebody's choice that you have to actively do. We go into Zoom and automatically the camera is shared.
If I want it to be, but I can stop sharing my camera right now. Right?
Oh,
I
turn
can
video
decide.
off. You mean
Right.
turn video off and turn video on?
That's me making the choice to share my camera with you or not.
All right.
And so in this, I know that sounds semantic, but when we get into an experience like Hubs, that's the distinction they're making, is that you have authorized your camera to enter the experience. Whether you choose to share it or not is your own thing. But when you enter the experience, it's going to pop up and say, do you allow to share your microphone? Do you allow to share your camera? And you'll say yes, but you'll still enter muted with no camera. It's just basically pre-authorized the ability to toggle that on once you're inside. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, this is also abstract and speculative. I think you're muted, Bob. Sorry.
I had to mute because there was background noise.
Oh.
Because everybody's was I get the chat saying to unmute, you know, put yourselves on mute, put yourselves on mute. It was me. Okay. So okay. So
let's do it.
We've got 5 actors
Yes.
in 5 different places.
Correct.
We've all signed into this website.
Mm-hmm.
How does this welcome into the theater and the lobby and all that? That doesn't affect us. We don't need to worry about that. That's for the audience.
It's for everybody. It's the same as being a real human going to a theater. There is a lobby that you may or may not choose to hang out in. There is a stage that you may or may not go on to. There is a room synchronously that you're sharing with other people. They just happen to be represented as a 3D avatar instead of their physical flesh.
All right. That's semantic. That's semantic. I guess basically I was saying that the audience experience and the actor experience are different. I mean, the actors don't have to come in and hang out in the lobby. The actors go right to the stage.
No, everybody enters the same way. So what I'm doing right now is I'm entering on the screen. I'm going to mute my microphone, but I'm going to choose what microphone I would use if I entered the room. So that's me giving the access. It's logging in here. Give it a second. So now I am outside on the street corner. This is where everybody who enters the experience starts. Everybody populates. Boom, we're on the street corner. So
I want my actors on stage and ready. What do I do?
So then what you would want to do, and this is an advanced feature, so Bob, you're already getting advanced. You're going to want to create what's called a waypoint, which is going to basically be like a hyperlink for the actors to go to that spot backstage, which is an advanced thing. But they could just walk around the back of the theater right here, doo-doo-doo, come over to the stage door as they would in real life. Virtual technology does not necessarily solve problems that we haven't solved in the real world.
Is this done with a keyboard command, or is this done with your mouse?
Using my arrow keys.
Oh, it's your arrow keys. Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful. Arrow keys, got it.
So, and then over here, we've got a bunch of avatars, which are like costumes. So if I want to change my costume, I could just use this avatar and become this panda. So I just click on it and let's see. I can look down, I'm now orange.
That's so good to know, because so many of us write parts for pandas.
It's important.
It's important.
So and then we come up on stage here from stage left, and walk out onto stage in front of our audience here. I have this back wall somebody was asking earlier. So this is just a video that plays on this wall. And this video actually gives you an overview. If you just went there at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wasn't there, it walks you through what the heck all this is and how to use it. But pausing that video for now, I can be on stage and look out at the audience and I can perform as an avatar. Or let's see, you can see this little drop down video. Do you see this little share camera icon?
Yeah.
And I click on that and it's now going to populate my web camera. Hello, greetings. And if I chose to be further back, stand myself up, I could start giving full-bodied performance that just happens to then be arranged onto this stage.
So I forgot, but did you answer my question? I said, do the actors need a green screen?
They don't need a green screen. Green screen is a helpful way if you want to start playing with people's backdrops. But if they just had, you know, a consistent, like let's say you decide everybody's just gonna have a black sheet behind them and it's gonna be a black curtain behind everybody, you could do that and just composite people that way. So now, let me get some distance here. So I'll go sit out in the audience. You see me on stage. You see how far I can go before I start knocking stuff over. But you know, I start backing up a little bit and I'm composited on stage. Now, if you start, somebody asked about volumetric video, which is, you know, that starts getting into a sexy kind of hologram place of being able to put basically a 3D person or a kind of extrapolation of a 3D person using depth cameras on this stage. And someone has created a, again, open source tool to be able to port a volumetric capture instead of this 2D video. It would be my little volumetric person, which you can see an example of, again, in that that YouTube link that I shared.
Okay, so for just for time's sake, let's move to the other twin, the audience experience. Where does the audience? How do they buy tickets to this? How do they get a link and they sign into the website the same as we do? Is there a specific link, or is it just a generic sign into the website?
It is the same as Zoom. So every iteration you make of the space has its own unique URL.
Okay. So the audience gets a URL. They buy tickets where? We have to figure that out on our side. That's not part of what you offer, right? The ticketing is what we do.
I don't offer a ticketing service per se. However, what I have explored over here is you can link out to things within the experience. So if you wanted to, I've got my little familiar red bucket over here for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And then you can donate to Equity Fights AIDS through this little link here. So you could do point of sale within the experience, or I would advise you sell tickets to the experience the same as you would for Zoom Theater.
Right. Although it's actually nice to have the option, if they're so like, wow, they go into this and they go, this is amazing, to give them the option of actually clicking and making a donation while they're still wowed. And there's no complications for the audience. We're not asking anything more of our audience than we would if they came in and sat and watched a Zoom reading, right? They don't need need to pick an avatar, or they do need to pick an avatar.
They need to pick an avatar, but they can choose the default avatar.
And that's one thing that's asked of them when they enter the room: pick an avatar. So they're not going to be overwhelmed, right? Or it's an easy audience experience.
It's again, I think that the word easy gets thrown around a lot of, you know, Zoom is easy for everybody now because they've been doing it for 6 months. I can tell you my mom called me every single day for a week the first time she had to do work on Zoom. So I think that we get better over time. So it's as easy as Zoom, it's just different than Zoom. And so you'll want probably someone there like you would at a normal show, an usher, a house manager, to just be there to walk people through it.
I think we need I think we all need a technical person. We need somebody to say, help, as we're trying to create all this. I will go on. I will trust that the experience is no more complicated than it is running a Zoom meeting or running a Zoom reading. It just looks different, but the same basic rules apply, I suppose.
I mean, the rules are log in with a URL that you've been provided by the host, set your settings for your own device, so your microphone, your camera, so on and so forth. Then use the built-in toolkit for chatting, interacting, sharing things inside of the space, right? That's fundamentally what Zoom or any video conferencing platform offers, is those 3 stages of you get a custom URL to go to, you set your settings for your personal device, and then you interact inside of that platform. Somebody's
asking where the concession stand is. Actually, there is a concession stand in there.
So there is a concession stand, and what is fascinating is not only can you could link out to merch, which we've done, but you could also when you're inside the world, the nice thing about Mozilla is that they have made it so that if anyone has chosen to click on the link and go check it out while we're sitting here talking, there's a giant pink button at the very top that has a little magic wand symbol. You click on that symbol, it will go to Sketchfab and Google Poly, which are two databases of millions of free 3D objects that you can just bring in right there. So you could bring in scenery, you could bring in props. It's how I brought in the sword that I played with as an avatar on the clip that I showed. So you then have the ability, if, you know, like somebody made a joke about concessions, we gave everybody popcorn when we performed the boat play.
So
virtual popcorn.
I think one of the pieces of the puzzle that's missing for you is the realization that there are a lot of us here who've never even gamed. We've never done a video game. So
I grew up without video games.
Okay, all right, then I feel better. And here's another question that I think underlines the fact that until we do it, we don't understand it. Edward wants to know, will there be technical staff that will operate the actors' avatars so that the actors only have to concentrate on their performing? I don't understand why, but I know the answer is no, you don't need that because the actors are concentrating when they're performing. That's all they're doing. But can you explain what the disconnect that some of us might feel about the actors and the avatars and why it's not a disconnect and why it's nothing to worry about?
I think that the mistake is to assume that the avatars are something independent of the actors. I think that the fact is that in virtual realities, even Zoom, what we're having right now, literally everybody inside of this Zoom call is a participant. We have self-selected into presenters and spectators in this current moment. That's a polite agreement that we're all engaging in. But that's the same as being inside of this theater. So everyone is an avatar, and they are then politely agreeing, like you do with any audience when you're physical. Someone could rush the stage anytime, punch you in the face if they want, right? But we have politely agreed to come together to self-select ourselves into roles within this experience. And the same thing is true. So the performers are avatars, the audience are avatars. Everybody is represented, instead of as a flesh sack, they're represented as a 3D body. And you can either pilot that avatar, you could do it on your keyboard or whatever and act that way. There's people in Russia doing like Minecraft checkoff right now, using little piloting of their avatars on their keyboards. Or when you introduce a 3D headset, a VR headset, you get hands, and literally wherever you walk in the room, it moves your avatar around the room. Wherever you grab something, your hands are grabbing and interacting with things. So you are physically performing. So when we did the boat play, we specifically did it back to back for audiences as a 2D video, like I've shared now a variety of different ways that you can just basically like project or stream a 2D video into the 3D theater. And then we put on headsets and we performed full performance as avatars. And we used digital props, and we interacted with each other, and we were able to, you know, I drown in the play, spoiler alert, you know, somebody else kills somebody else in like their stage combat in a moment.
Okay, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes into that, everybody who signs into that website is going to be assigned an avatar. There's no choice. There's no saying, I don't want to have an avatar. You have to have an avatar. But the avatars do not have to be intrusive. The avatars can be put away someplace and not be part of what's going on stage. Because what I'm worried about, maybe at least another person in the room is worried about, is are the avatars going to distract from the play? And you're saying that they're going to be the play, but we don't want the avatars to play. In theory, we don't want the avatars to be performing the play. We want our actors to be performing the play in their little frames in that limited, horrible Zoom world that you absolutely abhor.
Yeah.
But we want to do that. Can we do that?
Great. Yes, I already have on this call.
Well, you've done both.
I made myself a 2D video with just my head and shoulders inside of a 3D theater on stage. And I parked my avatar out of sightline backstage so that it didn't distract from you. So you were able to sit there and watch just my 2D box video, right? Or am I missing?
No. That's exactly what I want to know. So you said the key word was, you said you parked your avatar. So we can park the avatars and we can focus on the 5 actors in frames, or as you did it, the 3 actors in with a uniform C background, which was great. I mean, that's the kind of that answers a lot of questions that many of us have in terms of how to go a little bit beyond Zoom. To be able to put 3 actors against the same background like that would be awesome. That's huge. That's a huge step for many of us.
Yes, to answer Ivan in the chat, audience is parking the avatars themselves. So basically, I've created a independent waypoint inside of each seat. So you click on that seat and it sits your ass in the seat. I've gotten a lot of very interesting questions. I talked to a touring company for children's theater who said, well, how do we keep the kids from running around? And I said, with all possible respect, I don't teach kids. I don't know how you currently get real life kids to sit their butts on the seat. So that sounds like a problem you've already solved and addressed in the real world. It would actually be easier in the virtual world, because if they misbehave, you can kick them. You can knock them out of the experience, eject them.
Well, I've sort of troubled my way through this as much as I can. Are there any questions from the room? Because I'm not sure. Let me put it this way. Everybody is here. The 57 of you are here.
Larry has a great question. Can I address that?
Where is it? Yeah, sure.
Larry's asking about being able to hear the audience respond.
Oh,
and
Larry,
I
yes.
want to really speak to this, because this is 100% right here. This is the game changer for me when it came to Mozilla. Again, I don't work for Mozilla. I don't make any money off of the future stages. It is a free tool that I opened up for the theater community because I believe that every single person in the world should get to tell stories right now. So I've been working with Black Revolutionary Theater Workshop in Brooklyn. They've been performing in the virtual stage for the last 3 months. They've held multiple events successfully using exactly what I'm describing. The avatars, again, are people who can activate or not activate their mic. Now, because of the spatial audio, right now, if Bob starts talking, Zoom's going to try to guess who should get to control the conversation and cut me off. And we're going to kind of have that awkward, like, oh, no, you go. I'm sorry. Like, spatialized audio takes care of all of that. So everybody can collectively talk at the same time, and based off of distance, you hear different volumes, which means as an actor, I can tell you in a headset, I have sat in the middle of that 3D theater and I have heard an audience around me both clap and laugh. I've had that moment. Secondarily, those emojis that are accessed using the space bar on your keyboard, you can do a clap emoji or a laugh emoji or a heart emoji. And in my conversations with deaf performers, they have said that this is a really remarkable way to visualize those reactions that are such a part of theater and timing and pacing and synchronicity, that this is such a cool way to bring kind of the TikTok generation emoji culture into live reaction.
Okay, so basically we're at 6:09, and I normally like to get people into breakout rooms, but I'm feeling certain that there are people that have questions right now. So please, everybody, give me a virtual hand raise so I know that you, if you completely understand this and you're actually ready to go in and create a performance on future stages, that's fine. But anybody who has a question, oh, Brendan, you have a question.
I have a question on behalf of Jeff, who I think accidentally contacted me privately. He said, please explain how to composite the remote actors into the same scene as your boat and how they work together. Do they need a VR headset? The answer is no, you don't need a VR headset for that. That is done the old school way. Let me see. I'm always terrified to do this. Share my screen. So we're gonna have a little screenception here for a second. And what I can do is, let me just go grab Bob here. Very crude, bad, on the fly, quick and dirty, terrible. So now I can take Bob and just add him to my scene, and now he and I are both floating in this void together. So this is using OBS, or Open Broadcaster software. Again, it's something I demo in the live presentation on the fly. And this allows me to bring in a scene partner live on a show.
How do you silhouette yourself out of the? I see you as against a black background silhouetted, so it's just you. How would you silhouette me? How would you get me out of my virtual background, or do I have to put a black background up?
So you could put a black background up, or you could replace you could be on a green screen, or if you have a green backdrop, Bob, I can key out your green. I can just remove it right now live on the fly. So that's something we could do if you just have literally a green solid image behind you. So the idea being that what we did with our performers is our actors all used a free platform. Again, I love this open source XR community. So what they did, that's going to be hell. It's moving
the
too
closest
much.
thing I have to.
You don't just in Google type.
I have
green,
nothing.
In Google, just type green flat background or whatever, green background, and I'm sure you'll find just an image that you could drag in.
Aren't you in front of a green screen, Bob? Like if you took your TRU off?
I did take it off, but it didn't. Let's see.
Just take your TRU off. Just take your screen off. I think you're in front of a green screen, aren't you?
Thank you, Jessica. See, Jessica should be our technical advisor. Boom, that's perfect, Bob.
Okay.
All right. So now I'm just going to quickly, on the fly, real quick and terrible, remove your green screen. So what we did was our actors used what is called obs.ninja, which is a free tool that allows you to, sorry, I'm covering the display. A free tool that allows you to bring in actors from anywhere, basically takes over their phone camera. And we then composited all the actors next to each other. And then we just put the same backdrop behind them so that it looked like they were sharing the same physical space. And then our stage manager, who was doing all of that, made their webcam this frame. So basically their webcam was what they were doing inside of Open Broadcaster software, was the composited image. So if you think about this, each of the actors have their own video camera that they're streaming to share their video, like Bob and I are doing right now. The stage manager composites, like I've just done on the fly here. And then that gets streamed into the virtual stages, and that's how we put everybody in the boat. And neither of us needed a headset to do that. Does everyone's lighting need to be the same, says Susan? The answer is yes. You should definitely have everyone's lighting be as consistent as possible. You can do a little bit of zhuzhing, like right now, Bob's a little more saturated than I am, so I could get into the weeds and start really color correcting him to kind of dial that in. We definitely did that with rehearsal. We had actors that were very diverse, so we played with a lot of different color correction to get everybody's general skin tones and kind of the way the light hit them matching, so they looked like they were more in the same scene. There's a lovely, lovely group of students in Southern Mississippi University that have literally built 10 identical green pods with identical lighting that they are staging productions inside of, and I've been mentoring them over the last couple months. But that's their kind of hypothesis of how you get everybody to match. But yes, basically, if you gave everybody the same little ring light setup and the same kind of consistent baseline, you could basically get everybody in the same world as it was. LY, only one person needs to have OBS. Yes, I would say that's your stage manager effectively, or your board op, your virtual board op. But I'm really wanting to throw some love to my fellow equity members in this moment and get those stage managers paid and get them their weeks.
Okay, well, I don't see any other hand raises, and it's 6:14. So thanks for twisting my mind. Sam Berland. Okay, Sam, you raised your hand. Inevitably, when I'm ready to close,
I'm sorry. Is the color correction and everything done with your software, or is that OBS?
I don't have any software. It is done via OBS.
Oh, so you color correct everybody's camera angles or camera shots.
Yeah, so like right now, for example, I've got this office backdrop that I'm in. I'm gonna live right now. I'm opening up filters. I'm gonna add a filter. I'm gonna add color correction. And just to be obvious about it, I'm gonna go the brightness way up, the saturation down, up, the gamma ray, the contrast.
So you don't have exposure settings, do you? It's just brightness, contrast, and saturation?
I have gamma, contrast, brightness, saturation, hue shift, and opacity.
Oh.
That's what comes inside of OBS. There are much more. Again, everything I'm doing is open source and free. If you use Isadora, which is a paid piece of software that's meant for 3D projection, you can have a lot more latitude over that. But again, it costs money. And
Yeah, I just started to use OBS for teaching drawing classes, but I'm still having some problems with it. So
Okay, we have one more question. We have Nora Armani.
I'm with myself. Yeah, I have put it in the chat. It says, what about the sound sync? Can one play music and others sing, even if you're bringing them into the same screen? Would the sound still sync?
No.
So yes, but it's complicated. So the way we've got to think about the sync is that we're always trying to standardize where the sound reaches the audience. So for our needs, for example, you could either have the actors' avatars just become like a speaker, basically, like we're going to hear their audio in real time, but then there might be a lag on that video if it's going to the stage manager. So what you could then do is instead just have all the audio go to the stage manager, and they could just have like a traditional mixing board as if everybody was wired on different mics, and then they're bringing everybody's audio in from their live streams, which then means it's reaching the audience on the same sync.
LYS.
It's like live editing, like a TV show, like editing a TV show.
Yes. So if I had 3 actors who each have their own audio and video, I'm not a drawer, and it comes into the stage manager,
Works for
be
me.
able to composite them together into the same frame, and then go to the audience experience, right? You could either have each of the actors using their audio to go into the room on their own. Sorry, I'm blocking it.
Yep.
Huzzah. Or you could have them send their audio to the stage manager to be ported in as part of that experience, right?
So you are saying that there are ways of actually doing live musical presentations with more than one voice and
Correct.
not being completely defeated by the lack of sync or the lag, the latency.
Yeah, I think it's virtually, it is clunky but functional. And again, if you talk to any radio producer in the country, they solved this problem 50 years ago. So there are tools that literally radio stations send out to their affiliates to be able to get live sync sound. And if as a producer, you have the budget and the resources to purchase those devices, you could start making musicals right now.
Well, that's the first hopeful thing I've heard about doing musicals live. I understand completely how we can do it with recording and post-production, but the live possibility is exciting for a lot of us. I don't think we have all of the answers right now today. Brendan, this has been kind of amazing and a little overwhelming for
What are you
at least
laughing?
me. At least me. Everybody else
What
in
are
the
you
room seems.
laughing at?
It's just funny.
Who's laughing and what's going on? Hello? What was all that? Anyway, so I want to thank you. I do want
It's
to.
not like I can't.
I was trying to play a clip, but I have a different clip queued up. I was going to show people how to really take advantage of OBS in a.
Oh, that was you?
way. Yeah.
Oh God, I thought we were being Zoom bombed.
No, I was trying to play a clip of one of the actors saying, "Shut the hell up" to another person.
Well, I'm gonna wind up now. I'm gonna thank you. I think that we could probably use 2 more sessions with you, Brendan, so that we all can actually understand this better and actually do this. But have you put your email into the chat so that people can contact you? Because a lot of people are going to want to contact you and talk to you more about this individually. Is that okay?
I am findable on all the social medias at Brendan A. Bradley.
Brendan A. Bradley.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to leave you with, if I can get it to play real fast on the fly here, because I think it'll help kind of tie up everything that we've been talking about now that everybody's kind of gotten into the OBS side of things. If you don't mind.
That's okay. Everybody who's still with us, I am planning on doing breakout rooms even if it's only for 10 or 15 minutes so you can meet each other. So hang in there if you can. I'm going to also say my usual spiel about we do this for free, but we have bills to pay. So anybody who wants to make a donation, I actually have to tell you, the donations that have come in the last week have been astonishing. So I feel sort of ingenuous asking for donations, but we always need it. It's what keeps us going. Memberships and donations keep us going, and you've really kept us going. So thank you, every one of you in this room, and a lot of you who are out there who have been helping us. For somebody who thought he was going to have to close his company in March, this has been a miracle, and I'm so grateful to everybody. So you know that the link for making a donation, Jay put it in the chat, trueonline.org/make-a-donation, or you can join us as members. So honored to have all of you as part of the community. Honored to have you as a guest today, Brendan. I appreciate all that you've done and all that you shared today. I can't swear that I understand it all, but I am incredibly grateful for as much as you were able to share. And that's it for everybody.
May I share just one OBS thing just to kind of give people an idea of what's possible?
Okay, let's end on an OBS share.
90 seconds.
Okay.
Do you think of yourself as actually dead? Lying in a box with a lid on it? Nor do I really. So to be depressed by it. I mean, one thinks of it like being alive in a box. One keeps forgetting to take into account the fact that one is dead, which should make a difference, shouldn't it? I mean, you'd never know you were in a box, would you? It would be just like being asleep in a box. Not that I'd like to sleep in a box like you. Not without any air. You'd wake up dead for a start, and then where would you be? Apart from inside a box. That's the bit I don't like, frankly. That's why I don't think of it. Because you'd be helpless, wouldn't you? Stuffed in a box like that. I mean, you'd be in there forever. Even taking into account the fact that you're dead. It isn't a pleasant thought, especially if you're dead. Really ask yourself, if I asked you straight off, I'm going to stuff you in this box. Now, would you rather be alive or dead? Naturally, you'd prefer to be alive. Life in a box is better than no life. At all. I expect. You'd have a chance, at least. You could lie there thinking, well, at least I'm not dead. In a minute, someone's going to bang on the lid and tell me to come out. Hey, you! What's your name? Come out of there. Welcome to the future stages. I'm Brendan Bradley, and that was a piece from Tom Stoppard's Rosencrantz and Guild. All right.
Okay, guys. So thank you so much. We're going to end on that. And I have somebody at the door right now because it's 6:24. And that's the way things happen here. So everybody come into the room and let's say bye to each other. And I actually can put you into breakout rooms. Thank you, Brendan, again.